What I have here is a refractometer, and this is used to measure the sugar levels in your grapes for those of you that may have some grapevines at home. Now this model is nice because it's an automatic temperature control model, which means maybe if you go out when it's a little bit cooler out, it's going to automatically compensate for that. Now we've already calibrated this unit, so all you have to do is go out and take a grape, and you're just trying to get about a drop's worth on the prism here. There we go. And then just shut your lid and make sure that this is nice and covered so you get an accurate reading. And all you have to do is look through the refractometer, and what you're looking for is about 22 bricks for your reading. This is about the optimal reading that you're going to get for your grapes. If you're a little bit short of that, maybe 19 or 20 bricks, you may just want to wait another week, take another reading so you get the optimal amount of sugars for your wine. If you don't happen to have one of these at home, no big deal. You're just going to kind of have to use your best judgment to make sure that the sugars are at their optimal level for your winemaking. What we have here is a manual crusher destemmer unit. The advantages of this unit is that it's going to separate the grapes from the stems themselves. And how this unit works is really fairly simple. You got the paddles in here that are going to help guide the grapes through these rollers as you turn the handle. And then inside the unit itself is a metal drum with holes in it, and that's what's going to separate the grapes from the stems. Out on the side here is where your stems will fall out, and then your grape pulp is going to fall out down here. And this unit is just simply splitting the skins of the grapes for you. These also have stands available to make it easier for the collection of the pulp into your collection vessel. And once you got it all collected, you're ready to press.
If you plan on pressing juice from apples, first thing that you need to do is cut the apple up into small pieces. The smaller the piece, the more juice you'll be able to press from the apple. If you plan on pressing any significant amount of apples, you'll need to get apple crusher. What we do here is simply throw the apples into the hopper here and crank on the handle here and then work it back and forth, and then the blades chop the apples out into smaller pieces, and once they get small enough, those pieces run in between the two rollers, which sends them down into our collection vessel into a pulp. From there we will transfer the pulp into our press and press the apple juice out of it. Now it's time to press the grapes. What we've done here is we've transferred the grape pulp into a press, and now I'll demonstrate a ratchet press. We mounted up the grape pulp above the top edge of the basket. We put our press plates on the grape pulp. We put in the blocks on top of the two press plates, and we twisted the ratchet down until we met some resistance. We put in our pawls into the ratchet, and now it's time to start cranking on the ratchet and squeezing out as much juice as we can. There's no better way to extract the maximum amount of juice from your grapes than using a ratchet press.
Now that we've pressed our grapes, we're going to take a little bit of the must out so we can run a couple simple tests. One, we're going to test for tartaric acid and also pH balance. To test for your tartaric acid, you're going to use an acid testing kit. Really simple to do. Just follow the directions on the back. And the pH balance is just using these little strips. You put it in with your must for a few, let it sit for a few seconds, take it out, and just follow the color chart on the side. If you find that your acid level is too high, a lot of folks are going to use something like calcium chloride. And this is going to help lower the acidity, but it also does raise the pH balance. If you find that your acid level is too low, you're going to use something like acid blend. And this is going to raise the acidity, but lower the pH balance a little bit for you. It's important to note that you can run these tests when you get close to bottling time. Maybe you've taken a little sample and find that the wine's a little acidic, so you can adjust it at that point as well. And due to the complexity of adjusting acids and pH levels, it's a good idea to have a book as a reference to help you make better wine.
Now we're going to talk about making wine from fruit. The big difference between making wine from fruit and making wine from grape juice is the amount of fermentable sugars that's in the juice. With grape juice, there is enough fermentable sugars to get you to a decent alcohol content, whereas with fruits, typically there's not enough fermentable sugars to get you to a decent alcohol content. So for example, today I'm going to show the basics of making a gallon of raspberry wine. To make a gallon of raspberry wine, we have 3 pounds of raspberry, which will go into the primary fermenter. We are going to add 7 pints of water, and to get our fermentable sugar level up, we are going to add 2.5 pounds of sugar. Then after adding all of our additives to the primary fermenter and then adding our Camden tablet, we are going to go ahead and put the primary fermenter lid on. It's important to note at this point we need to wait 24 hours before adding the yeast. The sulfites in the Camden tablets are in there to kill the wild bacteria and wild yeast that are in the raspberries. If we were to add the yeast right away, it would also inhibit this yeast from doing its job. So 24 hours later, we're just going to sprinkle this on the top. We're not going to mix it in, sprinkle it on the top and start the fermentation process. Then over the next 10 days, about every 2 to 3 days, a lot of people like to poke the bag of raspberries, kind of get the juices and flavors out of the raspberries that are in the bag. Then from there, after about 10 days, we will transfer the juice over into a secondary fermenter, and before we do that, we would want to take the bag of raspberries and squeeze out as much of the raspberry juice as we possibly could. And when making wine from fruit, most winemakers will transfer it a third time, which will allow for the clarification process. The great thing about making wine from fruit is from spring to fall, there always seems to be something that you can make wine from, whether it's dandelions, rhubarb, plum, whatever you want to make wine from, go for it. Chances are this recipe handbook will tell you exactly how to do it.